Okay, so hello and welcome once again, everyone. It's a special day today. It's not just an ordinary Sunday. We're celebrating our patron saint today, Our Lady of Seven Sorrows. So today is a holiday in Slovakia, and we will be releasing a newsletter and a blog soon where you can learn more about the significance of the holiday. Also, for those of you who are following events in Slovakia, you might already know that Western Slovakia was hit by intense rain. So we are experiencing floods in some areas, severe floods. So if you do have relatives, families in Western Slovakia, we hope that they are safe and warm and dry in their homes. We will be sharing more news and updates later today as well, and throughout tomorrow. But for now, welcome. We wish you a wonderful Sunday morning. And to just go right into it, for those of you who are new or those of you who like to be reminded, Global Slovakia is a Slovakia-based NGO. We are dedicated to sharing Slovakia with the world through books, through these webinars, as well as online and in-person events. We also have an online academy. And all of this works together to help spread the word about Slovakia globally and to help you, descendants, to reconnect with the homeland of your ancestors, with its culture, traditions, history, and so on. Because it's not only important to know your roots, but it's also fascinating. So our main pillar of our work are our books. We have so far released 5, and we are working on a new one that will be released early next year. So that's something to look forward to. It's coming to fall and winter, so we are not so busy outside. We have a little more time to read and entertain ourselves inside. So here are our suggestions for your fall and winter reading this year. And also, we're very excited that we have Rebeka on board in Global Slovakia, not just with these webinars, but she is running a brand new online and live program that is designed to really immerse you in Slovak history, Slovak culture, Slovak customs, in an exciting, easy to digest, and beautiful way. If you joined Rebeka's previous webinar, you know that she always puts a lot of love and care and effort into designing her materials. So this is not a boring academic program. It's interactive, it's beautiful, it's meaningful, and it really will help you understand where your ancestors came from and how Slovakia kind of evolved and grew over time and what it was like, say, 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, but also today. So it's a very comprehensive 12-week course. You will be meeting Rebeka, who will be your special instructor. And over the course of those 12 weeks, you will see her once a week for a live class where you have an opportunity to ask questions and go deeper into topics that interest you. And you'll also get one pre-recorded session every week. So that means you get 2 sessions every week for 12 weeks starting in October. And we have an early bird deal available. Only 2 more spots are available at the reduced price. So you save $200 if you enroll now. As I said, there are last 2 spots available for this truly special program, and a real treat and an opportunity to not just experience and enjoy and learn about Slovakia here and there, but consistently for the duration of 3 months. Also in those dark, cold winter and fall months where we do have more time at our hands. So why not invest it into something meaningful? So I will stop there. I will just quickly introduce the much talked about, the one and only Rebeka, the author of the online program, and also our speaker today. Rebeka is a talented young artist who has a real passion for Slovak history and for Slovak culture, and a gift to present it to the world in a way that's enchanting and captivating. She is also a historical reenactor and a lecturer and guide at the Becko Castle in Slovakia. So she brings in the depth and the breadth of her knowledge of Slovak history and culture to everything that she does. So Rebeka, welcome.
Sorry, guys, I had to unmute myself there. So, hi, everyone. Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here again. I was really looking forward to this webinar. So I hope everyone can hear me and everyone can see me. So the picture you saw of me usually, so I don't wear glasses in pictures, but then when I'm doing my nerdy stuff, like presentations and webinars, when I'm studying and writing stuff, I usually wear glasses. So it's like, you have two of me's, one with the glasses and one without the glasses, but it's still the same person, I promise. Right. So thank you, Gabi, for the amazing introduction. I really, really appreciate all the kind words that you've said. Yes, I do hope I am not boring. That's one thing I'm definitely not. I'm a lot of things, but yeah, boring is not one of them. So, and I also think that you cannot really, when you're talking about Slovak history, it's never boring. History is not boring at all. It's so interesting and so exciting, and there's so many events and so many characters, and it's just stories and stories, and I love stories. So yeah, I don't think history is ever boring if you deliver it correctly, if you do it in an entertaining way, which I try to do. Right, so do you guys want to see the webinar? Shall we jump into it? You excited? Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen now. Hopefully it works. Here we go. Okay, wait. Here we go. Okay, can everyone see? Hopefully, yes.
Yes, we can.
Perfect, awesome. So, very briefly, I'm just going to get into this. Here we go, work. Ta-da! Okay, so Gabi already introduced me, and I think a bunch of you already knows me as well from the previous webinar that I was doing a few weeks ago, or was it a month ago? It was about Slovak castles, which was called Silent Guardians. And as Gabi already said, yes, I'm a designer, a graphic designer. I'm also an actor. I'm also an illustrator, an artist, basically a historical reenactor. I'm really, really, really passionate about mainly the period of Renaissance, but also Middle Ages. That's a really interesting period of Slovak history. So these are like my main focus themes. And I've been working as a tour guide at Becko Castle for about like 10 years, since I was 16. So I've got a lot of experience in tour guiding, and I still do it. I tour guide in London currently, so I'm very used to presenting stuff to people and talking to people and showing them amazing things from like history, or telling them stories, or showing them stuff that's worth looking at. So we're gonna move on to the first slide. So what I'm going to be talking about today, mainly, I'm gonna start with introducing you guys into the origins of Slovak mythology. And basically, the name of this webinar is When the Fairies Are Dancing, or When the Fairies Dance, which is about mythical creatures or supernatural beings and Slovak folk tales. So we have so many folk tales in our culture that I personally have at least like 10 books that are this thick about Slovak legends, folk tales, and stories. So we are obsessed with them. Slovaks love their supernatural beings and legends. It's a really, really crucial part of our culture and of our history as well. So I want to tell you a little bit about why is it that way, and how did it happen that we love our mythical creatures so much, and we have so many stories about them. Then we're going to jump on to talking a little bit about what's their purpose or their role in the day-to-day life of Slovak people. How are they, integrated into our culture and traditions, and what is their meaning in all of this? And then I've prepared some of the specific folk tales from different regions of Slovakia. I was aiming originally for 5, but then I actually started doing the presentation in the webinar and I realized that 5 would be way too many. We don't really have 3 or 4 hours to discuss all of these. So I chose 3 in the end, but they're really, really good ones. And there's going to be plenty more stories similar to these ones in my program later on. So if you're interested, you can always join the program, and then we're going to be talking loads about all of these supernatural beings and creatures in history. And then later on, I will obviously give you guys a little bit of space so you can ask questions, and I will try and give you answers. Perfect. So we are going to start here. I am sure that your grandmother at least once told you a story about Baba Yaga or Yeji Baba, an evil witch who lives in a deep, dark forest in a cottage on a chicken leg. She has a long, crooked nose with a mole on it, a hump on her back, and eats bad children who get lost in the woods. And if not, that means that I can congratulate you, because you guys probably had less traumatic childhood than we did in Slovakia. We had these fairy tales on a daily basis from our grandmothers. So, where do all these stories originate? That's the question. How were our grandmothers able to create such elaborate, terrifying creatures? And the answer is they didn't. They didn't have to create anything. They were already here. So these creatures were invented, we can say, centuries ago. They come from ancient Slavic mythology, and they were kept alive in Slovak traditional folklore with slight changes throughout history, throughout the centuries. And the changes were mainly to their name or to their abilities, but they're kept in the same way in our culture through the word of mouth until this day. So, as a part of Great Moravia, the territory of Slovakia was occupied by various Slavic tribes who worshipped similar gods, similar entities, and they also believed in similar supernatural beings and creatures. So what does this mean? Is that later on, when Christianity was introduced into these Slavic speaking tribes and Slavic people who were inhabiting the land of Great Moravia by these 2 guys over here, so Constantine and Methodius in 863, the religion has changed, but the folklore of these people, of Slavs, it didn't change at all. There were some slight adjustments according to the new faith, the Christian faith, but the majority, the main part of all of these beliefs in supernatural creatures and their powers stayed the same. It was so heavily embedded in the culture of all of these people because they lived surrounded by nature. They were experiencing every day, these supernatural things that were happening around them. For example, when they heard the thunder or things like these that they couldn't really explain to themselves. For them, it was the supernatural beings doing them. It was the gods. It was Perun, who was the god of thunder and stuff like that. So this was such an integral part of their belief system that regardless of when the Christianity came with the god, introducing the god, the one and only God, the people were so used to having these tiny little entities like fairies and things that inhabited the forest that were moving around them, that they just kept these beliefs. They didn't get rid of them ever. So we're just going to move on to the next slide. So these beliefs in the supernatural forces and mythical creatures were so embedded in people's minds that they simply kept them. And so the stories were being passed from generation to generation with slight adjustments to Christian faith up to the 19th century. And then in the 19th century, we had a lot of these educated men who were collecting all of these stories, going around Slovakia and collecting these stories and writing books about them, because people usually spread all of these stories through the word of mouth. So we didn't really write them down. But then these guys came along and they started, writing everything down. For example, Pavel Dobshinsky, who was like one of these people who was collecting, who went from one region to another, and who was talking to the people in different villages, and he was writing down whatever stories they would tell him about the mythical creatures that inhabited the forest nearby or something. So that's why we in Slovakia we have preserved all of these stories and collected them into various books that you can now read. So in here, we've got one of the supernatural beings that is really, really interesting. So it's called Rusalka, and she's basically a water fairy who lures people into the swamp and can drown them. The way she does this is that because she is a very, as you can see, young, beautiful, handsome woman. So obviously when someone was going home late night from a pub with their friends, and he saw this beautiful woman just wandering around in the forest, and she would be singing, and dancing and giving them their hand, offering it and luring them into the swamp, they wouldn't think twice about it, and they just followed her. And then they ended up, drowned in the swamp. So we have a lot of these creatures that are terrifying, but at the same time, they're really, really, enchanting and interesting and beautiful. And there's like some sort of magic about them. So it's the double-edged sword, I'm afraid. Right, moving on to the next slide. So a lot of Slavic nations, just like, for example, in Bulgaria or Ukraine or Poland or even in Czech Republic, they have the exact same mythical creatures as we do in Slovakia in their folklore, but they just have different names for them. So it's possible that you might have heard the same being called different names. For example, like I introduced in the beginning, Ježi Baba is also known as Yegi Baba, Ježi Baba in our culture, Baba Yaga, or Baba Yaga with a Y instead of J. So they all keep them because we were once part of the big Slavic tribe. We all keep the same creature, we just give it different names according to our language, our modern language. So what is the exact role of these supernatural beings in Slovak culture, and what is their purpose? This is the next thing we're going to focus on. So what was their purpose in everyday life of Slovak person? They must have been really, really important. Otherwise, Slovak people just wouldn't bother making all of these different kinds of creatures up. So there are multiple reasons, but I think one of the most important reasons for this was to prevent people from going to dangerous places or engaging in dangerous activities. So I mentioned this kind of behavior previously with Rusalka. So you have young man who's going home from a pub, it's a dangerous situation. He's going through a forest at night, drunk, by himself. So obviously, if you tell him, when you do this too often, there's a chance you might run into Rusalka. And then he will think about it twice if he really wants to get drunk and then wander home through the forest or through the swamp by himself, because he will be thinking about it like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go to the pub tonight because maybe there will be the Rusalkas trying to lure me into the swamp. So this is one of the main purposes, is to basically tell people to, don't go there, it's dangerous, and if you don't listen, this might happen to you. So here on this illustration, we have a poludnica. It's my own illustration. I did this a couple of years ago for a project. So a poludnica is a very, very interesting creature. I'm going to tell you a story about her, which is a story from Western Slovakia, so from the region of Western Slovakia. It's actually, it comes from a small village called Brestovec, which is near Senica, which is a bigger town. And we're going to get into the story. So, according to the tale, one farmer from the village was working in the fields on a warm summer day. Due to the large amount of haystacks he had to bind together, he decided to continue his work through midday, the hottest part of the day when the sun was most ruthless. He knew the risk he was undertaking. He heard the tales of Poludnica, a demon haunting the fields at noon, looking to punish those who disobey the custom of sacred midday rest. Fairy tales for kids, he thought to himself, and proceeded binding haystacks as sweat was dripping down his brow. Suddenly, the birds went silent. Even the crickets stopped their song. Out of nowhere, a strong wind pushed into the farmer and almost knocked him off his feet. A huge, powerful whirlwind formed itself, and with a squealing sound of a desperate woman, picked up all of his haystacks and started scattering them around the field. Horrified and helpless, he took out his knife and threw it straight into the whirlwind. After this, he ran for his life and never again dared to disobey the sanctity of midday rest. After a few months, he visited his neighbors for lunch. When the mistress of the house served him bread, handing him a knife and asking him to slice it, he froze. It was his own knife that he threw into the whirlwind on that hot summer day. "What is it, neighbor? The knife seems familiar?" asked the mistress smugly. "It does, in fact. I believe it's my own knife," the farmer replied. "Well, it must be, as it is the same knife I carried home, stuck in my hip, when you threw it into the whirlwind in the field during midday." None of the villagers had thought of the possibility of a Poludnica living among them, disguised as a human, causing them harm. So, I hope you have a little bit of chills running down your spine. So, this is the Poludnica that I was talking about. So, obviously, the woman he was talking to was the Poludnica, who basically got hit by his knife and brought it home stuck in her hip. And then she thought it would be funny if she would tell him over dinner one day, like, "Hey, I'm your neighbor, but I'm also Poludnica, so careful with me." So what actually is a Poludnica? So usually it is considered to be a supernatural being, some kind of a demon, you can say, but not everyone could become a Poludnica. Usually they were girls or young women who died shortly before their wedding, or it could have been a pregnant woman who died shortly before giving birth. And she had several forms in Slavic cultures. So, for example, in Czech Republic, she is usually portrayed as an old crone with a sickle in her hand, and sometimes she has hooves instead of feet. But in Slovakia, we gave her a little bit of a different shape and form, as you can see in the picture. So she was usually, she would show herself as a beautiful young maiden, usually very, very bright, luminescent, with long hair. And they were usually loose, so they would be flying in the wind around her. And she walked barefoot, and she was dressed in a simple white cloth and holding a sickle in her hand. So there's always the element of a sickle, which is a tool that you use to cut down the hay. She is a supernatural being whose purpose is to guard the sanctity of noon. So if she found someone during the time at 12 o'clock at noon, during the lunchtime, basically, who was working in the field at the time, she would punish them. Because in Slovak culture, when you eat your food with your family, with your loved ones, for example, lunch, dinner, those are considered to be like sacred times or a sacred period of time. So you should never disturb that. You should never work, like same for like working on Sunday, for example. It was forbidden, like no one should work on Sunday. Same goes for no one should work through the period of noon when you're supposed to rest, when you're supposed to have lunch. And when she would find someone working in the field at noon, she would scatter their assembled haystacks, as we heard in the story. Or, in worse cases, if she really didn't like you, she would start to give you riddles to solve. And if you were unable to solve her riddles, then you were risking having your head chopped off with the sickle. So you should have really thought about that twice. You must be really, really bright if you go to the field and risk encountering Poludnica. Because if you don't guess her riddles, your head is going off. So often people were warned not to work throughout the day, not to work throughout the noon, the middle of the day, but also children were warned that they should not wander around the field during midday because Poludnica would abduct them if she found them. Or if they were throwing tantrums, if they were misbehaving, the mother would threaten that she will, the Poludnica will take them away if they don't behave. Like, I will call the Poludnica and she will take you away. So then the children behaved. So in modern day context, Poludnica is basically a metaphor for a midday rest. She was created to prevent people from foolishly working during the hottest part of the day, because when you were working in the field on a summer day, it gets really, really hot in Slovakia. So she was kind of like created to prevent people from going to the field, working at 12, and getting a sunstroke and die, from overheating or from exertion. So this was her main purpose. Also, it was a threat for the naughty children, so that the tired, overworked, frustrated mothers could get the little ones to obey and also to get some rest for themselves. So another purpose of supernatural beings in Slovak culture is that they should, make people respect, value, and protect nature that was surrounding them, their environment that they lived in. A great example of this is from a tale that comes from a region in the central part of Slovakia. So right here, it's called Lubietova, which is a small town. It was a mining town. So as you might know, a lot of central Slovakia, a lot of towns in central Slovakia are mining towns. They were very, very wealthy. They had a lot of gold, a lot of minerals. So all of them were mining towns. And Lubietova is not such a big one or as well known as, for example, Banská Bystrica or Banská Štiavnica, but it was quite rich. So let's get into this tale because this is a cool one as well. Once, Lubietova was a prosperous town, famous for its gold and copper mines. People knew the wealth hidden in the earth and dug tirelessly. The town thrived, but one year, things suddenly changed. It's said that during this time, some miners emerged from a tunnel in a snowy area called Čierne peklo, Black Hell. As they stepped out, they heard strange singing. One miner, with sharp eyes, exclaimed that not only was someone singing, but also dancing. Looking closer, they saw tiny gnomes, permoniks, joyfully dancing barefoot in the snow. Feeling pity for the little creatures, one miner suggested they make shoes for them, as the permoniks had often helped them in their work, showing them rich veins of gold and warning them of dangers in the mine. The miners agreed to have the slippers made. The next day, they brought the shoes to the spot. When the permoniks appeared again, the miners eagerly offered the slippers. One of the miners approached them and said imperatively, "Here, put them on." But he made a grave mistake by trying to urge them. No human was allowed to command the permoniks. They were ancient creatures from the depths of Mother Earth. They were the ones to be listened to, not commanded around. When people wanted to give them something, they had to leave it nearby without a word, not force it upon them. So instead of accepting the slippers with joy, the permoniks grew sad. One even lamented, "The miners have now paid us off and ordered us to wear these shoes. From today, we will find work elsewhere. Before the miners could respond, the little man vanished into the earth, never to be seen again. From that day on, mining in Lubietowa declined, and the wealth disappeared, leaving the town to gradually fall into poverty. The wiser miners said, the little men took the wealth with them because we ordered them around, and Lubietowa became like any other village, no longer rich or famous. So this is quite a sad tale, to be honest. But what does this tale tell us? What does it mean to convey? So what do Permonique, the little gnome, what do the gnomes represent? It is a supernatural being. Permonique is a supernatural being, which is very similar to a gnome, but his role is to guard caves, mines, and treasures hidden under the ground. So he is like a protector of the world of minerals. Permoniques usually wear bright red hat and carry a burner along with a pickaxe, as their life's work is mining. So they are about the size of a 3-year-old toddler, very, very tiny, with a long beard and the appearance of an old man. So they're quite the creatures. It is easier to hear them. That's what the miners say, that it's easier to hear a Permonique than to see one. So when you go to Banská Štiavnica, Banská Bystrica, Kremnica, wherever you go there, they will have little tiny statues of Permoniques, pictures of Permoniques. They have them everywhere. It's like their thing. And they all believe in them. They like, it's not a question. It's not like, oh, haha, yeah, you have Permoniques here, don't you? Haha, it's like, you know, ghosts. No, they take them very, very seriously. They believe that the Permoniques are there and you shouldn't disturb them. You should behave yourself when you're walking into a mine shaft or something. There's loads of customs that the people of these mining towns have created, and they obey these customs because they believe, they know that the Permoniques are there in the mine, and if you make them angry, then they will, you know, have their revenge on you. Either they will take away your gold from the mine, or they will punish you in other ways. So what is the role of Permoniques? They help the miners find the gold veins, or where the riches is, you know, the minerals, but only if the miners are respectful, if they're not greedy or loud. So that's why you're not allowed to scream or yell in the mine shaft. They will tell you like to shut up if you're being disrespectful in the mine shaft. These Permoniques, they even warn the miners when the mine is about to collapse. So when they appear in front of you, allegedly, when you're walking through a mine shaft and suddenly you see a Permonique, you know it's really bad, because usually you can't see them. You can only hear them like knocking on the walls and tapping around you. But when you see one, you know it's really bad and you should get out of there as quickly as possible, because this means that the mine, the shaft is not stable and it's going to fall down on you. So you have to run away. And to ensure the favor of these Permoniques, the miners would often leave them food and gifts, you know, for them to take. And they would leave it in the beginning of the shaft after their day's work. And they would also let the Permoniques know when they were about to make an explosion in the shaft. So when they're about to enlarge, make a new shaft in the mine, they will let the Permoniques know. They will like announce it, like, we're going to do an explosion now. They give them a few minutes and then they do it, and then they make it explode. So they take these beings very, very seriously. For them, they're real. They are there. So till this day, Permonici, like I said, are an integral part of the mining towns. And in here you can see the video of small children being dressed as Permoniques, and they're pulling their little carts. So they have these kinds of celebrations, festivities, and processions. For example, this one is in Banská Štiavnica, which is a beautiful old mining town. When you go there, you feel like you're in a medieval fairy tale. I was there this summer and it was beautiful, just mind-blowing. So this specific festival is called Salamander. And like you see, they dress up as permoniques, and they walk alongside the allegorical carriages, and they pay respects to the permoniques. So it's an integral part of the culture there. Now we're going to move on, guys. So the last tale I'm going to introduce you to is a tale about a chert. So you can see a picture of a chert right here. Chert in our culture is so like well known. We have cherts almost in every fairy tale, in every folk tale. There's cherts everywhere. And the role of, for example, chert as a creature was to teach, teach people to behave, to have morals, to be honorable, because we needed to keep the order in the society somehow. And if you don't have anything that you are afraid of, then you might, misbehave because you don't take it seriously. So the role of chert was to keep the order among people, to teach people to be honorable, to have morals, and his existence was also meant to remind people that for every sin you commit, small or big, there is always a punishment waiting for you. So you should never, do bad stuff and expect that it's just you're gonna get away with it, because you never do, not in our culture. So they represented a certain form of godly justice in a cruel and often unjust world. A great example of this we will find in this very, very cool story, which is from the eastern part of Slovakia. So this is a story from Ľubovňa Castle, which is located in Stará Ľubovňa in eastern Slovakia. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. So let's get into this one. Nobleman Ľubina had everything his heart desired. The only thing missing for his earthly happiness was a stone castle. He chose a beautiful high location on a hill above the Poprad River to build his fortress, which would protect important trade routes between Hungary and Poland. The builders dug the foundations, filled them with stones, and poured them. The walls quickly rose under their hand, but something strange started happening. Everything that was built during the day disappeared by night. When this repeated for several days, the builders gave up. "We won't struggle against the devil," they said, and left. What kind of magic is this? The nobleman wondered. Desperate, he went to a cave beneath the island and lamented. "I would give everything I have just so I could finish building this castle." After uttering those words, a whirlwind of dust and pebbles rose in front of him. And there he stood, the chert himself. "Very well, my lord. I will help you finish the castle. And I don't even need that much in return. Just your soul. What do you say? Do we have a deal?" Chert extended his filthy, furry hand with long claws smugly, waiting for a handshake. After much thought, Ľubina made his decision and shook the devil's hand, thinking, "From now on, I will truly be the richest and most powerful man. None shall surpass me." In just a few days, a mighty castle stood tall on the hill, unrivaled far and wide. Time passed quickly, and the nobleman prepared for the wedding of his youngest daughter, Ľudmila. Suddenly, a special guest appeared at the castle, a strange prince from Italy, accompanied by his entourage and chests full of gold. The prince whispered to the nobleman that an unfortunate fate would befall the Polish prince, Ľudmila's betrothed, and he would not attend the wedding. the prince's prophecy came true, as they received the same sad news from a messenger the next morning. At that moment, Ludmila realized who he was dealing with. It was time to repay the old debt to the Chert. He decided to summon a monk who could break the Chert's power. But how could a monk enter the castle, guarded day and night by Chert's army, who would let no stranger inside? His daughter, however, came up with a clever plan. Father, I will disguise myself as a guard and go to the village. I will find a brave monk who can serve your soul, who can save your soul from Chert, and bring him here. As she said, so she did. She secretly slipped into the village and found a monk disguised as a guard, entered the castle. When the monk faced Ludmila, he saw repentance in his eyes and gave him absolution. At that moment, Chert lost all his power over him. In his rage, Chert flew out of the castle to grab a huge boulder, intending to destroy the castle and reduce it to dust. But just then, a rooster crowed, and the boulder fell from Chert's grasp. To this day, it can still be seen on the banks of the Poprad River, known amongst the people as the Devil's Rock, Chertova skala. There we go, guys. So this is the third tale about Chert, which is basically a representative of the devil on earth. So all of the religions around the world, they all have this very demonic, bad, wrong entity that's, you know, basically the demon, the opposite of the good, the god, basically. So we also had that. We had the Chert. He is a demonic creature associated with Lucifer, and he usually inhabits hell. But he leaves hell quite often, and he wanders around the world to cause harm, to do bad things to good people. And in the Bible and in Christian religion, it is practically the devil himself. However, in Slovak folklore and in our culture, a Chert is often a creature that can be outsmarted, befriended, or defeated, as we saw in the previous tale. So Chert is quite the anthropomorphic figure in our culture. That means that he has a lot of human characteristics and qualities, but mainly the bad ones, obviously. So he is very lazy, he doesn't wash himself, he uses foul language, he is greedy, sometimes he can be a little bit silly or stupid, and usually is quite cunning, and he loves to gamble. So he loves to play cards for money in order to trick people. So there's an expression in our language, like when a child misbehaving, you call it a Chert. Like, why are you such a Chert? Because, you know, they're being the little devil. So usually description of Chert in general, he is very dark. He has thick, fuzzy hair, usually black hair. He's got little horns peeking through. He has a long cow-like tail, and instead of feet, he's got a pair of hooves. Lovely. So you can hear him when he walks towards you. When you hear that suspicious sound, you know you're dealing with a Chert. But then when he wants to, he can also shapeshift. So he can switch his form. He can take any shape or form he wants to. But usually his favorites are a black dog, a raven, a black goat, or a chicken, a black chicken, which we call zmok in our culture. So whenever someone has a black chicken on their in their yard, you would call it a zmok, and you would think it's a Chert. So usually people didn't like to have black chickens in their on their farm or in their yard. In Slovak literature, he is often seen to take the form of a handsome young forest ranger to appeal to sinful women. So he usually wears like fine clothes, and even in the previous tale you heard, he took a form of a Italian prince. So he preserves the darker features, like the black hair, the black eyes, but very, very kind of handsome and tempting. And that way he seduces people, mainly girls, obviously. Like, who would resist? So there's even a tale called Cert Akacha, which is about the Cert, the devil, and Akacha, who is a very, very naughty woman. She's very, she likes to talk a lot, and she is very stubborn, and people don't really like her because she always has to have the last word. So in this tale, the Cert comes for her, but then she is worse than the devil himself. So she kind of tortures him instead. So that's a funny tale that we have in our literature. But the main purpose of Cert is, like I said, to cause harm, to walk the earth and tempt people. To, he promises them the wealth, he promises them whatever they want, all of his desires, all of their darkest, deepest desires and wishes, in exchange for their soul. So he promises you, like when you're in your lowest point, you usually summon him somehow. You ask, oh, if only Chet could give me this, and then he usually appears like out of the blue because his ears are everywhere. So when he hears you, he comes, he shows up in your lowest point, and he promises you everything. Everything to solve all of your problems, usually all the gold you can have. So people give in, and they don't think about it too much, and they sign. And he makes them sign like a contract with him with their blood. So they have to like pierce their finger and then push some blood out and then sign it. And as soon as you do that, there's no way back. Like, you've signed your soul to the devil, and sorry, but you're going to hell. So it's like a very damning moment. So he also tests people. He tests their goodness to see if they're truly good. They're truly a good person, or they're just lying and making themselves seem nice, but they're actually not that good. And once you sign your soul to the devil, like I said, there's no way back unless you somehow trick him or outsmart him, or you repent and you ask for forgiveness from God. So there's loads of stories in our mythology where the people would trick the devil. They're so funny as well. Like there's people dressing up as weird animals to trick the devil, and I can talk about this for hours. So during the program, if you guys sign up for that, I will tell you more stories about the Shed. I promise. They're really, really funny ones. How people outsmarted him. And like I said, oh, by the way, the picture that you can see here, that's the Devil's Rock, the Čertova skala. So if you ever visit Stará Ľubovňa, you will not only see the castle, but you will also see the boulder that the Čert tried to throw at the castle and destroy it. So it's really there. I didn't make it up. It's there. And usually people made these stories, fit accordingly to their surroundings. So like, for example, when you had a boulder like this, the people came up with a story to, justify why the boulder is there, because it's so unnatural. Why would it be put like that in the middle of nowhere? So that's why we have so many of these stories connected to the supernatural beings just doing whatever they want in our world. Right, guys? So like I said, we have so many mystical creatures. They're amazing. We have Kikimora, we have werewolves, we have vodnik, we have fairies, obviously. We have Grgalica, this is a funny one. We have a Nočnica, we have dragon, we have the white lady, and many, many, many more. Like, I can talk about this for days, and we would still have stuff to talk about. So our folklore is just so beautiful, so enchanting, and you can still learn a lot from it, because all of these tales, they have a moral lesson in them. So that's why I love them so much, because it doesn't only teach children, it can also teach adults. So if you are really, really keen to learn more about it, I would like to tell you a little bit about the program that I'm launching with Global Slovakia right now. So it's going to be about Slovak history, about Slovak customs, about the culture, about, you know, understanding our Slovak mentality, because I think we're quite, you know, peculiar nation, and we have like a very, very distinct mentality, which is just, you can't really understand it easily. So this course, this program is going to help you do exactly that, to understand us Slovak people. So like Gabi already said, it's going to be 12 weeks of live interactive classes. So we're going to have live sessions like this, talking, but we're also going to have the pre-recorded lectures, which you can access at any time and point whenever it's comfortable for you. So you will also get the personalized one-on-one consultations with me. So if you're specifically interested in a certain topic and you want to talk more about it, or you have some more questions, I will find the time to discuss this with you one-on-one personally, so you can learn more, you can discover more. And also there will be a small VIP group for personalized learning, and a WhatsApp group as well. So we can be connected, you know, if anything pops into your mind, if you see something interesting, like an article or photo, and you want to ask me about it, you can just drop me a WhatsApp message into the group chat or privately, and we can discuss that as well. So you will be joining the community of like-minded people as well. So it's going to be a really, really cool program. I'm already really like looking forward to this. And just so you know, what are we going to talk about roughly during this program? So we're going to cover all of the most important topics that you should know if you ever want to go live in Slovakia, or you want to understand Slovak mentality better, you want to connect with your you know, family members, distant family members who live in Slovakia. You should definitely know these most important things. So historically, we're going to be talking about the Slavs, obviously. Then we've got Middle Ages, which is one of my favorite ones. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the castles as well. I have some new stuff, new content. So I'm really excited to share that with you there as well. We're going to talk about aristocratic life in the Renaissance era as well. So if you guys joined my webinar about the medieval castles, we talked a little bit about the gowns that the ladies used to wear, the gowns I wear when I'm doing my reenactment performances. So the fashion we had here in Slovakia is just incomparable to anything else in the world. So I love to talk about that, the jewels, the dresses, the, you know, the hairstyles and everything. And I really can't wait to talk about this as well. Also, we're going to be talking about wars, uprisings, because that's an important part of our culture as well. We had to deal with quite a lot in here. The rites of passage, that's going to be a good one as well. Like, why do we, you know, like what different holidays we celebrate, why, what are the different rituals that we have in our Slovak culture. And obviously we're going to talk about Ľudovít-štúr, the disagreements, the Magyarization, the industrialization. Sorry about that, it's been a long day. The lifestyle, the changes, you know, the folk, how did the folk live, how did regular people, common people live, what were their traditions. And obviously, we're going to talk about the people leaving Slovakia, going abroad, going to America, like my great-grandfather did. Like lots of Slovaks went to the mines in Pennsylvania to gain money to support their families, and they even stayed there. And that's where a lot of you guys come from. Like you have your ancestors here, but you live in America, abroad. So yeah, lots of different interesting topics, lots of material to cover, and I'm really, really excited to share my knowledge with you on this. And with that being said, I am going to move to the questions. So, Gabi.
Actually, Rebeka, we'll let Rebeka catch her breath. Beautiful, beautiful presentation, Rebeka. Thank you so much. So many appreciative comments in the chat. And yes, we'll move to the questions and answers in just a minute. So do feel free to unmute yourselves and ask Rebeka directly. Before we do that, though, an update. We only have one more early bird spot at the course and the program Building Foundations with Rebeka. So whoever takes it first, you know, first come, first serve. The link is in the chat. So that's that. Also, if maybe the program is not for you, I would also like to remind you that Global Slovakia is a not-for-profit organization, and we run these webinars on donation basis. So if you have not supported us yet with a donation, please consider doing so. This goes directly towards our activities, towards writing and researching, towards these webinars, and just sharing Slovak content every day for you to learn more about your ancestral homeland. Every donation is very much appreciated and received with a big thank you. So I'll be sharing the link in the chat too. And Rebecca, let's now move on to the questions. Yes? Great. So let me just stop share. Yeah, perfect.
Got it.
Okay, so let me see. So do you have any, is there anybody who is brave and will ask Rebecca a question on the screen? It is the best way to get your question answered. So if you do, just feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask. In the meantime, let me check the chat.
How do I reserve the early bird spot?
Sorry.
How do I reserve the early bird spot?
I'll pop the link in the chat again. It is still available, so you just need to go there and then yourself in the program, and the spot is yours.
Let me see if I can find it.
I'm putting it in. Here you go. Just a second. I wish I had more hands.
I don't know how to find the chat.
Here you go. There it is in the chat now.
Oh, building a foundation. Okay.
Yes,
Yes, that's the one. If you click on the link, it will redirect you to the website, and that's where you can register, and it's basically all in there. So it should be
I'm
really
already on the mailing list, so I don't need to do that.
Oh, okay.
Perfect. And for more of you booked, so
okay.
Sorry, is it okay?
It makes me put in that.
Okay,
I'm
so
really happy. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear these stories. My Baba lived with us 3 months a year. I'm 80. And so, and I've been to Slovakia several times to visit our cousins. And so I'm, oh no, here it is, enroll now. Okay, so there it is. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for sharing that, Jessica, and welcome to the program if you are in. Also, for all of you that book your spots, you will receive a confirmation email with more information, with the course schedule and everything within 24 hours of securing your spot. So, and here we have the first questions. Here we go. Chris. Hello. Just if you can just unmute yourself and ask a question.
Guys, can I just quickly, I'm just reading the chat and I love all of your comments. Like I'm just quickly scrolling through it because you were messaging so much and I couldn't like read it. But now I can see that like, oh, our Baba would call us chort if we were bad. And I love this because this is so cool how, you know, our like language transfers through generations. And even though she probably like spoke to you in English or like in a different language, the chat, the words still stayed the same. And that's the cool thing I'm talking about, because this is exactly what happened with the Slavic, you know, culture, like the Slavic people, because they had their own language. And even though like the Christianity came and a lot of things changed, the religion changed, they still kept these words and they said them in the exact same way, and everyone knows this word. And it's so similar in different languages, like I said, in Czech, in Polish, in Ukraine, in Bulgaria, like it's the same thing, just a slight variation, but everyone knows when you say to someone, oh, you're such a chert, they know what you mean. So it's really, really cool to see this, that you know, like you still have a connection with this, and maybe you didn't even realize that before, I told you all of these stories, and now it just like starts making sense because now you have the context. So I'm really glad if it helped anyone, and if now it sheds a bit more light on all of this. Sorry, I will let you ask questions.
Yes, so let's go over to Paul. Hi, Paul. Lovely to see you.
Hello, good to see you all. Thank you. That was a fabulous presentation. Thank you so much. There are several questions in the chat, variations of like, are there any English language books that you would recommend? And I added one in chat of any film or movie retellings that might not be English language, but that might be good stories to watch.
Okay, so in terms of the fairy, so Baba Yaga is mostly a character that appears in a lot of fairy tales. Because it's got a lot to do with, so it comes from ancient Slavic mythology. A lot of these other Slavic nations and a lot of other Slavic countries have her as a main character in a lot of films and books and stories. Currently, I'm not 100% sure if I can name like a specific book or a specific, film that's in English so you can understand everything. But I can look into this, and I was also thinking about this many times that I can actually like, make short videos about this or like introduce people to these characters, because I have so many tales about these creatures in Slovak language, but they haven't been translated to English, or like people they can't really get around to it. So we're going to work on that as well. That's a note for myself. That's another thing that I will work on so I can get this to you guys as well, along with Global Slovakia, obviously. I'm pretty sure Global Slovakia also has a book, the Legend of the Linden Tree, and I'm pretty sure some of these Slavic customs, along with these ancient creatures, are mentioned there as well. But I'm not sure if it's like a specific story about Baba Yaga. However, if you're going to join the program, I will definitely work on this, and I will get you some materials so that you can, learn more about Baba Yaga or whatever creature you want. And yeah, so that would be my answer.
It sounds like you have a lot of spare time, so you should be able to have time to do that.
Actually,
it's funny, I actually don't, but I make time.
That is a joke. That was my joke for today. It sounds like you have no spare time, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paul. Hang on. Okay, do we have any more questions?
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Just a second.
Hi,
I'll put you on.
Oh, okay. Oh, I don't have my camera on. I'm not looking.
It's okay, but we will have you here in spirit. There you go.
Actually, I have more of a comment than a question, but like Rebeka mentioned, maybe some of this kind of clicks in your head when you've seen other things. I actually like to play video games, and one of my favorite games is The Witcher, which I like it too. And a lot of the creatures you were mentioning are monsters you actually like kill in the game, like Kikimora and Chorts, and like and I was like, oh, it like clicked in my head. I was like, oh wow, this is so cool.
It's so cool that you know Witcher and you like it. Like, love that, because I also love The Witcher. So The Witcher, for everyone else, so you understand the context, Witcher is it's from a book. It's a book series which was written by a Polish author, Andrzej Sapkowski, and then they made it into a video game because it was so cool, and someone thought like, oh, Slavic mythology is so cool, we should probably make a game about it because it's so interesting. So that's why we have a lot of these Slavic themes and the creatures in The Witcher as well. However, some of the creatures that they present in the video game in The Witcher, like Kikimora, for example, is a completely different creature. Like, it looks completely different in Witcher as it does in the Slavic mythology, for example. Like, I did a project about Kikimora when I was doing my BA, and I did a performance about Kikimora. And the illustration that you saw previously in the presentation of Kikimora, I based that illustration, I drew it based on the descriptions that I found in, like, the books and the tales. So she looks nothing like the spider that is depicted in The Witcher.
Yeah,
She's
right.
a completely different creature, and I think it's actually even more scary because she's like this hybrid of a weird mouse with a bird with like a chicken leg, but it's a big creature as well, but it can make itself very small, and it's got like really, it makes eerie noises, and you cannot really find it. And it's like, yeah, it's a, yeah, but yes, you are right that it's a lot of these creatures are in The Witcher because they use Slavic mythology as their like main thing. And yes, you have Poludnica in there as well.
Yeah, the new
Nochnica,
wraith.
the midnight lady, the wraiths and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really good source. And this is what I'm saying, like Slavic mythology is so interesting that people took it and just made fantasy and fiction and movies about it, and books and films, because it's just so cool. Like you don't have to make anything up, it's all there. So yes, I'm really glad you liked The Witcher, and you made this link, this connection, because yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love The Witcher. I love it. So it's my favorite game ever.
Mine too.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. It was so interesting.
Thank you. I really appreciate you liked it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Also, I will put it out there because we had a comment in the chat about the chat also appearing on San Nicolas Day in the procession with San Nicolas and the angels. So maybe you can comment on that a little bit, Rebecca.
Yes, so Cert is usually, so when you have St. Nicholas Day, we have St. Nicholas, and then we have the angel, and then we also have the Cert. So you always have to have, you know, the evil and the good spirit. So angel is for the good one, he represents the god, and then you have the Cert, who is like the devil himself. But like I said, the Cert in our mythology and in our culture, it's not like such a bad creature. Like it is bad, but it's more like maleficent, or how is the word, like malevolent. Like he's a bit of a, you know, he's a cheeky little guy, like, but you can also trick him. He's there to like mostly scare people. He doesn't always have to, like, you know, take someone to hell straight away, or like it's not that fatal. He's more of like you know, you shouldn't do this, you should, you know, I will test you now, and then when you're really mean, that's when he takes you. But like in the context of children being warned, like, oh, the Cert will take you if you don't behave, or stuff like that, or like during St. Nicholas's Day, the Cert is there as the element of like, yes, I'm bad, and if you misbehave, I will take you, but you don't really have to be scared if you're a good child. So all the children usually behave, and he's there to like scare the children a little bit, like, and then and then the kids are scared and everyone's happy, basically.
Also, if I may add to it, this like balance, as Rebecca said, between the good and evil, between the light and the dark, that also comes from the Slavic mythology, where there is nothing like just endlessly evil, or just evil and just good. It's much more gray, and there has to be balance between the two things. So you need to have a day, you need to have a night in order to enjoy the day, and you need to have like the bad, the negative, the not so pleasant aspects of life in order to enjoy the good things. So that's also, it translates into those fairy tales, it translates into the San Nicolas Day traditions. The good kids, let's say it, they are rewarded. They get the little chocolate or the fruit or something into their boot on the eve of San Nicolas Day. The naughty children, the naughty children get nothing or a little bit of coal, traditionally, to be reminded to behave themselves and be treated next year by St. Nicholas. Okay, do you have any more questions? Would anybody like to ask? This is a bottomless source of topics and discussions and stories. The many appreciative comments in the chat, Rebecca. Wonderful presentation, beautifully done.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm always nervous before this. And then I just start talking about it, and then like I get into it and I just want to share everything. So yeah, I'm really, really happy you liked it, and I'm really glad you appreciated and enjoyed it. And I will continue to do the good work, because when I hear your positive comments and when I feel like, yes, people appreciate and they want to learn more and they want to know, then it drives me, you know, forward. So I'm really, really happy about this, that you guys enjoyed it. So thank you.
Yeah, very, very, very lucky to have Rebeka to bring her to passion and her design skills, you know, that really brings the folklore and the stories and the history to life. And that is unique. There is not so much good, entertaining content about Slovakia out there. So thank you for all you do for us, with us, Rebeka, but also, you know, in general, because you are a very creative spirit.
Thank you, Gabi.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, this is the last chance to pop it in the chat or ask. If not, I'll just let you know that all the early bird spots are gone. But congratulations, we're very excited about starting the program with you at the beginning of October, and it will run through until Christmas, or just before Christmas. So you really get to also enjoy traditionally in Slovakia this fall and winter when it's cold and dark. People spend more time inside. Traditionally, this is the time of gathering around the fire for storytelling, for sharing, you know, all these beautiful fairy tales. So you are doing the course at the perfect time of the year. And although early bird spots are left, we still have places at the program. It is limited to 10 people, so we have 5 more spots for you to join. So have a think about it, and really, if this content interests you, I dare to say that you will not find a more entertaining lecturer than Rebeka. So don't hesitate, join us. We are running this now. We don't know whether the program will return again next year or no. We'll see how everything goes in life. So don't miss this chance to do something for yourself, but also be entertained in the process of getting to know your heritage.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
on
gonna
that
add
note,
to that real quick. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna add real quick. I am like really, really happy about this. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. I hope that you will join the program. And if you are interested in learning more about Slovak culture, mythology, heritage, history, everything, do like follow Global Slovakia on internet, on Instagram, on Facebook as well, and you can follow me as well. I'm Bekoslava on Instagram, and I try to post a lot of stuff like explaining things as well. We did with Global Slovakia as well about Trenčín Castle. There's like 3 legends that I mentioned there. So, and we usually also post a lot of like information about the course as well, the program. So if you will, you know, if you have a think about it and you feel like, yeah, I want to join, and you don't know where to find it, just, you know, look at the website of Global Slovakia. It's right there, or just look at our Instagram or Facebook. We post it into the stories as well, so you can definitely find it. If not, just message us, let us know like where can we find it, and we will gladly respond to you. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna hand over to Gabi.
Thank you so much, Rebeka, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Oh, Rebeka, please share your Instagram account. It's Bekoslava. Rebeka, I will pop it in the chat for people.
Bekoslava, like that.
There you go. There you go. Rebeka shared too, so you have it there twice. So thank you. Because twice is better than, you know, not doing it at all. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed the presentation, that maybe you get to celebrate our patron saint today, wherever in the world you are. If you do enjoy our work, if you do enjoy our webinars, please do consider supporting us with a donation. It helps us immensely in continuing the work that we do. And it also inspires us and motivates us to do even better. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, the rest of your weekend. And we look forward to welcoming another webinar in September. September is now in October. Thank you, Rebeka, as well. Amazing presentation and wonderful delivery.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Don't be
Videnia.
bad scared. Bye.
Bye bye.